When it comes to transit expansion in Ontario, it seems like Premier Doug Ford and his government are always searching for ways to make big headlines, regardless of the practical or financial implications. The latest news? Ford has directed Metrolinx to explore the idea of expanding GO Transit's rail network by diverting freight traffic off key rail corridors. While this might sound like an exciting development for commuters, there are significant challenges, costs, and potential trade-offs that we need to unpack. GO Transit, operated by Metrolinx, provides vital regional rail service across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. However, much of this network operates on tracks owned by freight rail companies like CN and CP. This shared use of the rail corridors often limits GO's ability to increase service, particularly during peak hours, as freight trains take priority on these tracks. This bottleneck has long been one of the biggest barriers to GO Transit's expansion plans, especially as Metrolinx aims to roll out its ambitious GO expansion program, which includes electrification and all-day two-way service on several lines. Ford's directive to study the diversion of freight traffic could, in theory, free up these rail corridors for dedicated passenger service, allowing GO Transit to run more trains more frequently. Freight diversion would involve relocating freight trains to alternative routes, either by upgrading existing freight corridors or building entirely new ones. The idea isn't new. It's been floated in various forms over the years, but it's always been met with skepticism due to the logistical, financial, and political hurdles involved. Some of the key aspects of freight diversion include the following. CN and CP would need viable routes to reroute their trains. This might involve upgrading underutilized rail lines or constructing new tracks. Building or upgrading rail infrastructure for freight use is enormously expensive, with costs easily running into the billions of dollars. CN and CP are private companies with significant influence. They would demand compensation and guarantees before agreeing to any changes that could disrupt their operations. If freight traffic were successfully diverted, however, the benefits to GO Transit and commuters could be substantial. Without freight trains taking up space on shared corridors, GO Transit could run more frequent and reliable service, particularly on heavily used lines like Lakeshore West and Kitchener. Dedicated passenger rail corridors would make it easier to implement electrification, a cornerstone of the GO expansion program. Improved rail service could attract more riders, reduce traffic congestion, and provide a viable alternative to driving, particularly in suburban areas where transit options are limited. While the benefits sound appealing, the challenges involved in diverting freight traffic are massive. Building new rail corridors for freight trains or upgrading existing ones would come with a multi-billion-dollar price tag. Given the provincial government's shaky track record on managing transit project budgets, this raises serious concerns about how the project would be funded and whether it would stay on track. Even if the study recommends moving forward with freight diversion, the planning, negotiations, and construction would take years, if not decades. Meanwhile, commuters would still be stuck with limited service in the short term. Building new rail lines would likely require significant land acquisition and could face opposition from communities and environmental groups. CN and CP are unlikely to cooperate without significant concessions. These companies operate profit-driven businesses, and any disruption to their operations could have economic consequences beyond the rail industry. Critics might argue that Ford's directive to Metrolinx is more about optics than outcomes. The Ford government has been under pressure to deliver tangible improvements to Ontario's transit system, particularly as major projects like the Ontario Line and Eglinton Crosstown LRT face delays and ballooning costs. By directing Metrolinx to study freight diversion, Ford can position himself as a champion of transit without committing to a specific course of action. After all, ordering a study is easy. Implementing the recommendations is where things get complicated. There are alternatives to freight diversion that could achieve similar benefits at a lower cost. For example, instead of building new tracks, the province could negotiate with CN and CP to buy certain corridors outright, as Metrolinx has done in the past for some GO lines. Adding more sidings or passing tracks on shared corridors could help reduce conflicts between passenger and freight trains. Advanced signaling systems and train scheduling software could optimize the use of existing rail corridors. Metrolinx will now conduct a study to assess the feasibility, costs, and potential benefits of freight diversion. While the timeline for the study hasn't been announced, it's likely to take several months, if not longer. Once the study is complete, the ball will be back in Ford's court to decide whether to move forward with the plan or quietly shelve it if the challenges prove insurmountable. On paper, diverting freight traffic to expand GO Transit sounds like a no-brainer. The idea of freeing up rail corridors for dedicated passenger service is enticing, especially for commuters tired of dealing with delays and limited service. However, the practical challenges, astronomical costs, long timelines, and complex negotiations make this a daunting proposition. If Ford is serious about improving transit, he'll need to back this initiative with substantial funding and a clear plan for execution. Otherwise, this could end up being just another study gathering dust on Metrolinx's shelf. For now, commuters will have to wait and see if this idea gains any traction or gets derailed by reality. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching and happy transiting.